Yeah, you got to share the center there. Yes. Aloha, are we live? Yes, Facebook and YouTube streaming simultaneously here from our Facebook page, Olive Grove Center for Community Wellness on Facebook, and geographically, GPS-wise, North Tonawanda, New York. We are in a commercial residential space here on Oliver Street. It's a pretty awesome building. We've been enjoying this since we got in here in January. A lot of changes, of course, with everything that's gone on in the world and more so locally. But we're happy to be here for another Friday live from the Grove. And Sean J. Kennedy here with Paige Allison. And we just kind of want to be a little more casual than we've been here in the past. We've been casual with sharing things, but Paige and I just kind of talked before we hopped on here and said, let's try to make this a little bit interactive, not so much with anybody that's tuning in right now, although you're welcome to do so, to chime in or comment. We always invite that, but we just kind of want to, do our weekly check-in and do it a little more conversationally. So with that being said, I'll let you kind of just start off the flow.
Okay, sounds good. Hi, everybody. We're just going to see how this goes with the conversation and just diving into whatever it is that we want to talk about. You're welcome to comment, share what it is that is coming up for you. And that's kind of what I was going to talk to.
It doesn't have to be all serious spiritual stuff all the time either. It can be funny, humorous, whatever you, if anybody has a joke, feel free to post it. But yes, we'll probably cover some astrology and different ceremony stuff we've been doing and continue to do. But let's try to have some fun with it too. We were just literally snacking before we hopped online. So if I have anything in my teeth, I'm doing the best I can to clean that out while we talk. Smile. So go ahead.
I have no idea what to talk about. I guess.
Where are we at? Moon cycle, sacral chakra, things in retrograde, creativity. We got a lot going on.
Yeah, I can talk about where I am with my creative stuff. I can definitely feel like ebb and flow of my creative abilities. Like when I'm paying attention to the moon cycles, it definitely like my creativity spikes during the full moon, which is interesting. I don't know if you've noticed anything like that. So my creative drive is like waxing at the moment. It's getting more and more as I don't know.
Waxing and waning.
Yes. A joke you say. What do you call a beehive with no exit? I don't know, Mary.
We're stumped. What do you got? Can't wait till you see the punchline.
So what about you? Any shifts that you want to share with the full moon ceremony?
Unbelievable.
Yes.
That is a knee slapper. That was funny. Thank you, Mary. That was good.
Thank you for that.
And appreciate the general audience rating of that joke. We're always trying to, you're never sure who might be hopping online and stuff. So thank you for sharing that. That was corny and funny. Thank you. So where were we?
I don't know, just talking about where I was with my sacral journey so far. I've been noticing my creative energy is like getting stronger and stronger as we go towards this full moon.
How does creative energy most commonly express for you?
For me, it expresses through ideas. Like I get like so many ideas, and like I have trouble just like writing them down and turning them into like actual projects. And like a lot of ideas like refer to other things.
Okay, so here, let me clarify. So to me, the expression point would be the idea gets somehow manifested into form. So I had asked, how do you express creatively, musically, singing, writing, whatever it may be, gardening, there's different things that we do that we could say, we're creating, right? But yeah, it starts with thoughts.
Right.
So you got a ton of thoughts and ideas, as do I, as do many of us. We can probably relate to that. But what do you find the most, like water follows the path of least resistance? What is the path of least resistance for you to express those ideas?
See, that's the thing that like I really don't know because it just has so many different passions. I like drawing. I enjoy that. I'm not as good as it as I want to be, and there's like a judgment thing that always comes up with that. But the other day I was when I was on the beach out in Angola, just the raw material was like calling to me to create with it, and like that was really something that I just enjoyed. And
so, what did you create?
I created, it turned out to be a scorpion. It was like I was trying to create wings.
And how did you create it?
I started picking out stones that called to me.
What kind of stones?
They were flat shale stones.
Black shale on the shores of Lake Erie.
Yeah.
For any geologists out there.
And I was going for wings. I was trying to do like a butterfly or an angel. So I just started placing these things down wherever it felt like they should go. And as I was doing like the vertebrae, and I thought it was a butterfly, it like totally took the shape into a scorpion, and it had claws and it had a stinger, and then it had a whole circle around it as I cleared the beach and then around the sand. It was cool because I didn't have like a preconceived notion. I was just like kind of following my inspiration. Yeah, I had like the wings thing that was guiding me when I was finding like the stones that kind of had that like sharp angled shape.
So let's say like it like you built something, right?
Okay.
Yeah, you built like an oracle or a glyph or a mandala for that matter, because chances are with the thunderstorms today, the lake came up and swept away what Paige is talking about she created on the beach. So segue into non-attachment, what are we creating, and are we attached to what we're creating? And the answer is mostly yeah, right? So, I mean, it's part of life, particularly if you're creating another being. It's not a parent that's not attached to some degree to their child, but, just in terms of creating something in the world, a business, a relationship, a piece of art, music, whatever it might be, are we holding on to it? Are we trying to record it? Are we trying to get patent for it and so forth? And nothing wrong with any of this, but I know from my journey with creativity that the blocks are real, and I've enjoyed writing, but less so in recent years. And that's been a path of least resistance for me, is to create expressively through the written word. Kind of more of this nowadays, but back in the day, writing it out by hand, but less so now. And I've been exploring music lately, sound, the sound healing, the singing bowls, and really enjoying that journey. We just got a piano here at the Grove, so took piano lessons as a kid. I can read music, but there's a lot for me to kind of learn and still get familiar with sitting down to that. But I love creating music and just being expressive that way. So kind of that path of least resistance. And for somebody, it could be painting something on the wall like this behind us that Courtney did for us shortly after we opened here, and Nicole doing the chakra bolt on the other wall across, that some of you have seen. And then another one of our partners, friends, community members here is going to feather dust paint the stairwell to coming up here. So we're going to add some splash of color. And so these are creative expressions happening, right? It's really powerful stuff to be aware of. And as we release the blocks, maybe we can talk some about that. Like, what blocks have you found with getting something from idea to manifest?
The biggest one for me is just judging it way before it's ready, and like feeling like it's not worth investing my time if it doesn't become something that I can like capitalize on. And I've been noticing that as a pattern in me, and definitely like working to change it. That's why I think that the beach thing was so healing for me, because there was no plan, there was no purpose, there was no attachment to it lasting. It was just something that I was inspired to do. And there was no, like, I didn't even take a picture of it. I didn't even have my phone. I didn't even document it to show the world how creative and like whatever it was. Like, it was just for me, for my own creative expression, because I was called in that moment to play and have fun and
so
allow something to come through.
Would you say there was a communication that was occurring?
There was a communion more. Like, it's just like a bonding with my soul and just allowing myself to flow and creating for the sake of creating, which is what I know intellectually is the point, but experientially it's a way different thing. Like, if I'm sitting down to draw something, if it doesn't look like the thing that I sat down to draw, I don't want to share it with anyone, and I feel like I've wasted my time.
So how's the inner child drawing going?
It's actually going really good, because it doesn't need to be good, because it's a child drawing. So like, I don't care if a child's drawing is bad, but like, if my drawing was bad, then I would care. If that makes sense. Like,
but
it's
isn't
like,
there
okay,
a child in you?
Yeah.
Right.
And it's okay for the inner child to have a bad drawing, but like, if I'm in control of it.
But who's I? Isn't the inner child I? Isn't that part of the I? It's
part of it, but I feel like them as separate things. I feel like there's that inner child that like represents that innocent, childlike nature of me, but I also feel like there's like that culmination of my soul and my being that is also like being influenced by the inner child, but I feel them as like separate.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah.
Maybe it's something that I need to integrate. But I also have a Gemini moon, which is my emotional side. So my emotions have two personalities.
So we have a full moon in Gemini a week from tonight.
Full moon is Sagittarius.
Oh, Sagittarius. I forget.
The sun is still in Gemini.
It's the new moons that correlate with the zodiac sun signs
yes.
month to month, and then the full moons.
It's always
have to
half.
Oh, it's always what's half. Of course, it has to somehow mathematically make sense. I figured, okay, you look up and the moon's clearly in the constellation of that zodiac.
Right.
Which would map up based on the time of year. Cool. The seasons, the cycles that we follow.
The full moon is always in opposition to what is in the sun sign.
Gotcha.
So it's like
okay.
We're seeing the reflection of the Gemini sign of the sun in the full moon.
So next month, new moon Cancer, full moon in Capricorn.
Correct.
Gotcha. It just keeps going. Cool. So these are different cycles, different influences. A lot of planets have been in retrograde for a period of time. I don't know, did Venus come out of it already?
No, June 25th.
I knew it was 25th. I thought it was May 25th.
Oh,
so
we are still in the beginning stages of
more and more people
Venus
are aware of Mercury retrograde. That gets all the
press,
if you will. And so we'll get another dose of those. But honestly, there's so much going on energetically. If you follow things like the Schumann resonance, which tracks different, man-made vibrational things, whether it's HARP or something like that, or even human emotion, our heart influences the Schumann resonance, which measures the EM field of the earth. Solar activity is a big one, right? So these are things to just be aware of. There could be a solar flare, a solar wind interacting with the Earth's electromagnetic field. We have an electromagnetic field. We're connected to that larger electromagnetic field, which continues to, you just think of orbits or concentric circles, and it's just this continued field of electromagnetic energy, and it's all interacting with itself. And our sun is one powerful star. I mean, without it, there's no life here, right? It drives it all. It drives the plant, the plant growth that allows oxygen for mammals and other vertebrates to breathe, and builds the soil, provides the food. And without the sun coming in as a catalyst for all of that, to drive the evaporation and rain and the water cycle and so forth, it's game over. So it's an easy thing to kind of look up in the sky and look what it does to the moon, right? Like Pink Floyd song, there's no dark side of the moon. It's all dark, right? Matter of fact, it's all dark. The sun is shining on it, right? So that's that polarity, that light dark polarity. And it's just neat things to be aware of. But from a vibrational standpoint, if there's something significant happening with the Earth's electromagnetic field, we're going to experience it in some way. And I only became aware of this a few years ago, but those difficult days, maybe you feel really stimulated, really agitated, anxious, physical pain symptoms can flare up, flu-like symptoms. They call these things like ascension symptoms. They're typically correlate with these different cycles. A lot of planets in retrograde. Oh, there was a solar flare. Well, we're at a solar minimum cycle currently, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't mean that there isn't still solar influence upon the planet. And then, oh, by the way, what's going on sociopolitically, and how's that affecting people? What's the message being sent out there through, whether it's social media, alternative media, or mainstream media? How is that interacting with us? So that's affecting our emotional field, and that's energy in motion. So in short, there's a lot going on constantly. And when you have a calm moment, that's kind of like when you're in the eye of the storm. It's like there's always a storm going. There's just always energy just moving. How are we interacting with that? Are we going, oh my God, too much? And if that's going on, it just means you need some self-care. From my experience, like if I'm overwhelmed by stuff, I just need to give me 5 or give me 20 or whatever, and just kind of go back into the self-care, but to actually be willing to be in the storm and be the eye in the storm. In a sense, we are that storm too. But if we can be calm while we're going through this process, whatever practices, tools we have to keep us in a calmer state. Let's say it's not like you have to be Buddhist monk, just zenned out all the time. But let's face it, when you feel rested, when you feel loved, when you feel heard, acknowledged, these kind of things in life. That's back to the inner child. We can flourish, but without that, we cannot flourish. You cannot flourish if you don't feel safe. You can't creatively express at a high level with these programs, with these blocks that we've inherited, that we continue to get exposed to through our lives. But we have a choice, and that's the power of where we put our attention and how we spend our time. So here we are sharing some of that with you, some of our time, in this sacral cycle that is arbitrary, in the sense that Paige and I talked about doing these moon cycles correlating with the chakra. And we said, well, let's start with the root. Let's start next month. So it was just, I want to say random because everything lines up, but it's not a sacral chakra cycle because of Venus or solar cycle or Schumann resonance or these other things I refer to. It's just, let's do this. So we're into the second chakra of this 7 lunar cycle series that we started. And it's pretty profound. So these are ways to proactively engage the cycles rather than sit back and go, oh shit, here comes another Mercury retrograde. Get ready. It's kind of lean into it and say, you know what? I'm going to go into my sacral chakra energy center and see what's going on there. Right? See what's happening there and do some clearing, right? And integrating and get right with ourselves.
I have a few things to add to that. I think that there's definitely, what I've been noticing is that the cycles can be as far out as the planets and what they're doing, or they can be as close to us and as simple as like the seasons or just the weather. I mean, I know the other day with the hot weather, people were irritable, people were angry, there was a different energy just because of temperature. And
there was, just to add to that, there was a significant solar event. I forget the details of it. I didn't get a chance to watch. A friend of mine, Jillian, she's got a really cool YouTube thing going. She reported on it right away. I think it was Monday. And actually saw something else today. But anyway, Memorial Day, something really profound happened energetically. Timeline shift, to get into some vernacular you might not be familiar with, but there was a solar event that occurred on and around Memorial Day, and then boom, we're right into a heat wave, right?
That's interesting. Yeah, I mean, it's all connected. And Sean was saying, it's nice to use these cycles to really work on what it is that's going on in our lives that we want to work on. It's not like the cycles are dictating what we're doing. We're using the cycles, we're using the natural rhythms to further whatever it is that we want to. Like you said, it's arbitrary that we're doing the sacral chakra, but it lines up perfectly that it's in Gemini, because Gemini is this energy, and it's the mirror looking back at itself. And, where creation, the only reason to create is to see what we can create, is to see a different aspect of ourselves, to let a different aspect of ourselves express itself.
What a fundamental question. We get right into, well, how are you creative? What are you creating in your life? And they're important things to look at and consider, but why are we creating it? Right. That's a whole nother can of worms, open that up.
Right. For what purpose? What are you creating? How much of it is for your own joy? How much joy are you creating every day? How much joy are you creating in your life and the people in the space around you? And, we can use the simple cycle of the nature. We're going from spring into summer, and we're really kind of blooming and blossoming and going out into the world and allowing ourselves to express ourselves. So this is a fully expressed time. And we're cycling that with the seasons as well. But you don't have to pick, you can pick any of them that you feel called to. I think that's another thing that I've been learning, is that a lot of this work for me is inspiration. It's like one thing that I've learned from Sean just by watching him and how he organizes his life and how he goes from one thing to another is it's really inspired based. And that's been teaching me how to tune in with myself. And it's like, what does inspiration feel like? How do I listen to it more? And how do I create a life where I can be led by my inspiration without fear coming up from the root chakra and, sabotaging my experience, blocking me from that experience? How can I allow myself to be inspired? And I think creativity is inspired, and sexuality should be inspired. And that's a whole thing that we're going to start talking about once the full moon has come and gone. We're going to shift the focus, or I'm going to shift the focus from the creative to the sexual, because that's a conversation that we're kind of all avoiding. And, there's a lot of trauma when it comes to sexual expression. There's a lot of deep dissatisfaction and rejection when it comes to how we express ourselves sexually with partners or with ourselves, and how society views that, and really how a lot of healing can happen through moving through that energy. So that's kind of on my in my mind, what the second half of the moon cycle is going to be about. And again, it's this Gemini, it's this one thing and this other thing, the creativity and the sexual expression, both of which ideally, when we're done working through this and clearing through this, will be inspired for us, regardless of where we are with those things at this time.
So we're always creating. It's a question of, again, I like to clarify this at times. This isn't about right or wrong. Like, you're not inspired, you're doing something wrong. No, this is the storm, like I'm saying. To hear that inspiration, to feel that, to get that clarity, I've found that it typically comes when I'm calm. There can be an excitement to that. So it's not just, again, like this Zen, like I'm just in theta state all the time, brainwave state. No, it's, wow, I got present enough with my moment and myself to receive guidance. As opposed, we're always getting guidance, we're always creating, but there's just programs, there's fear, there's these things that have been encoded into our DNA. And that's a whole nother tangent you can get on, is like, why is it like that? But it is that fact. And so trauma, different things we're healing through that bring these blocks up and can impede us from living by inspiration. So when, Paige was sharing that she's learned that by watching me, I chuckle a little, because I'm like, ADHD over here juggling about 8 different projects. They're all related. They're all interrelated. And there's a lot of cool relationships going on between this project here at Oliver Grove, and Song Valley Organic Farm, and other places, Aquahaway Center for Learning, where I met a lot of the great people that I know today, and continue to meet more of them, and just super blessed with the amazing people showing up in my life. That's a reflection of the inspiration. I'm seeing more inspired, I don't say people, inspired action happening around me. Like, people are like, wow, they're inspired. And I might play a supportive role in their inspiration, and then vice versa. Like, hey, this was my inspiration to do this. And it could be doing a landscape gig or something, or it could be doing a ceremony, and somebody just plays that key supportive role. And we moved a piano into this place, and a lot had to line up for that to get up the stairs that night. And it did. And so it was meant to be. It was inspired, right? And back to the beginning, when we're talking about attachment and creativity, sexuality, right? So what a great segue from the creativity. And sexuality really is creativity. It's an expression of creativity, but it's like its own being of experience that needs a little more focus, a little more attention, I think, because creativity is so broad. I mean, we're always creating something, even if it's just creating drama or difficulty in our life, we're creating it. We're creating beautiful moments as well. So to kind of dive into that sexual energy and go, whoa, that's brave, maybe a little reckless even, because that's where some stuff gets stirred up. Maybe we don't want to go there. Inspiration will lead us to the things that need to be reconciled and integrated into our being. There's nothing wrong. There's nothing that needs to be fixed. We just need to get right with anything that's ever happened to us and whatever we think and feel about it. And if we can be at peace with those things, with those moments, we're free. Until then, it's his fault, it's her fault, it's this excuse, it's that blame, it's that complaint. Again, nothing wrong with that. We're dealing with the programs, we're all healing. But just to be aware of it and say, oh my gosh, and I catch myself constantly. I'm like, well, I could look at it that way, or I could look at it through an abundance perspective and be like, wow, look at me, I can afford that loss, or whatever it is, like only made this much on this job or this gig or whatever. No, I'm so blessed. Like, just let the, the prosperity flow and let the support come into you. So through the sacral and the sexual corridor of that is a tremendous opportunity to liberate more creative energy, more life force, more expression in the world from an inspired place. And when it's inspired, it's harmonious with creation. That's one way you'll know it. And harmonious means no harm. Doesn't mean there isn't challenge, doesn't mean there isn't like, hey, I'm pushing up on you a little right now, but there's no harm. You just know it's not harm. It's just interaction of energy then. And really cool stuff can happen. Synchronicities, things I read about in Celestine Prophecy years ago. So I know we're really onto something with some of the things that we've been delving deeper into with different practices and paying attention to the astrological cycles and incorporating sound into all of this and working with the chakras. There's so much available to us, and you can get overwhelmed by all the information, all the different spiritual traditions and teachings that are accessible now. Back to inspiration. Qigong's not for everybody. You don't have to do a tantric experience to heal sexually and express sexually. You may be inspired to, but it's not like a prerequisite to a healing. None of these things are. You don't have to do yoga. I found yoga personally beneficial for me, in large part because I'm correcting and reversing some damage I've done to my body from working it so damn hard the last 30 years, physical labor, and I still do it. But I do the yoga as an act of self-love. But I've had to work to that, to love myself enough to do it. And it's an inspiration. Yoga is not for everyone. So go down the line, whatever the thing is, sound bath, whatever. Psychedelics, ayahuasca, these different things that are becoming more accessible. It doesn't mean it's for you. But if it is, it will come. And you'll be guided to it. Inspiration will lead you there. So all you got to do is just keep breathing and showing up. And some moments might be a little overwhelming, can be pretty intense. Whether it's something you're dealing with or a loved one in your life is dealing with, and then that of course affects you. How can you respond to that? Can we hold space? Can we be calm in that eye of that storm in a difficult moment? And if you can't, that's okay. Just forgive yourself. You did the best you could. Someone else was holding that space. Thank God. Whatever happens, right? Shit happens. Police kill people and it gets on the media and things get, whoa, watch out. It's just like, talk about go viral, right? And these things need to be brought to the light. So that's why they're coming out. All of this pandemic stuff, it's bringing a lot to the surface to be brought to the light. A lot of what's been in the dark is coming to the light. And it's wonderful because it's liberating, but it will challenge you. It challenges me. It challenges people that I know and love that are really working on this path. As you move through those challenges, embrace the learning and grow, it's so fucking empowering. So empowering. Say, wow, I didn't think I could do that. And I showed up anyway. And I did it. And there's a healing that goes with that. And then you can get back to, okay, inspiration. Something pulled me way over here, back to inspiration. So thank you. Thank you for following your inspiration in life, whatever that is. You know what that is for you. And it's in a moment. And just trust it and go with it. It's the greatest thing I know that any of us can do for humanity, for all of life on this planet, is to learn how to follow inspiration. And really that word is synonymous with God or divine or goddess or these different things, intelligence, whatever you want to maybe call it, higher self, soul. But it's listening to that eternal, unlimited essence of the universe when that's speaking to us versus recycled bullshit, which is all happening as well. So love your bullshit. I'm loving mine. Paige, are you loving your bullshit?
I'm loving it, and I'm shifting it, and I'm sifting through it. And there's been a lot more bullshit than I even realized, and I'm being humbled by it constantly. I'm like, oh man, every time I think I'm free of it, I just find a whole nother pile that was hidden behind something else that's now ready to be sorted through and transmuted and integrated. But
I don't know about you. I'm in 7D. I'm not even sure how we're hanging out right now. If you're like down there, like hovering around 340, I don't know. Somehow it's lining up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's a little ascension humor. Whatever's in our life, like I've attracted Paige into my reality in this moment. She's attracted me from her perspective. We've attracted each other through this virtual space. We're sharing a moment together. This is a ceremony, right? And to acknowledge that and say, okay, I just created this moment. All right, whatever we want to call it, cool moment, boring, dull, funny, intriguing. It's a moment. There's your ceremony. There's your life. Whatever you're calling it in the moment, that's your life. So we'll leave it on that. If you don't like what you're calling it, practice calling it something else.
Be creative about what you call it.
Be creative about what you call it, yeah. And be real and be honest. If the moment sucks, it's okay. Say, hey, this moment just sucks. Acknowledge that. Acknowledge that. Don't run from it. Don't hide from it. And just say, hey, I'd like to have a different moment. put it like that, a different moment. Help me to have a different moment than this one. If we're struggling, if we're stuck in something, recognize when you're in a great moment. Oh my God, this moment is so amazing.
It's really, really
Recognize
important. I've been doing that a lot lately. I'm spending a lot of time out in nature and a lot of time with my family. And, you know, whenever attachments, we've been talking about so much, and I've really been learning a lot about this whole year. When attachments come up, when you have that moment that's so beautiful, and you just want to hold on to it forever, and you know you're thinking about how much you love someone and you don't want them to leave you. That's always an invitation, a signal for me to lean further into the moment and find what is resisting and just let it go, so that I can fully be present and receive how wonderful the moment is. And the more I can be brave and let my walls down and let more moments into my heart and allow myself to experience the true utter bliss that the moments that surround me have, it allows me to not attach to it, because I'm so at peace with what happens that I don't need to hold on to it, because I was there when it happened, and I'm now in a new moment every moment after. So it's really that presence of being that helps set me free from attachments and allows me to follow inspiration.
Thank you for tuning in. Enjoy your Friday evening. We'll be back here 7 o'clock Eastern on Monday for our weekly sound bath guided meditation sound bath, whatever order you like. It's all really one nice fluid meditative experience.
Yep.
And then a week from tonight, full moon. So yeah, lots going on, and we love you so much.
I like to end with namaste. The universal light within me salutes and honors the universal light within you. Namaste. Love you.